Have you ever pondered the problem of succession? There's a hit television program called Succession. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It addresses the age-old human problem, how to ensure that which was built with blood, sweat, and tears endures upon the death of the founder or the founding generation. It's a common complaint in families, corporations, and countries that the second generation is unequal to the first generation and unworthy of succession. You see it in common families, royal families, and in the family of nations. We often lament the children squander their inheritance and destroy what was built. They've been spoiled by the riches they have acquired that they didn't have to work for. They squabble amongst themselves, the next generation, for authority and dominance, but it is ambition without principle, just power and prestige for their own sake. It's not a righteous purpose, but ambition disguising itself as a calling. How to keep the achievement alive after the deaths of the ones who created it is the core ingredient of the longevity of the achievement. It is this challenge, the problem of succession, that both the Torah and the haftarah portions of the week address. In the Parsha, Chayei Sarah, Abraham is described as an old man. Ve'avraham zaken, baba yamim. And Abraham was old, well advanced in years. He concludes that now is the time to complete his life's final critical mission to ensure a proper succession. The revolution he began, the nation he founded, depended on the next generation. There would be no longevity to Abraham's project without a successful succession. If Isaac, his son, is not committed to Abraham's vision or is unequal to the task, there'd be nothing left. No one would have known, cared about, or remembered this seemingly deluded man who left everything to form a new nation. The only reason we even know about Abraham is because his son, Isaac, was committed to his father's project. And so Abraham, now too old to make the journey himself, sent his servant Eliezer to go to the land of Abraham's birth and find a wife for Isaac. And it was a successful journey. Eliezer eventually met Rebekah, and Isaac and Rebekah together strengthened the Abraham project that until then was hanging by a tenuous thread. The haftarah portion also addresses the problem of succession. King David was on his deathbed. One of his sons, Adoniah, conspired to succeed his father, garnering the support of the religious authorities and the military. They all acted as if Adoniah was already king, his succession guaranteed. Bathsheba, David's wife, and the mother of their son Solomon rushed to David's bedside. The eyes of all Israel are upon you, O Lord King, Bathsheba pleaded. Tell them who will succeed my Lord on the throne. If you do not decide when you die, Solomon and I will be regarded as traitors. Only then, on his deathbed, did David decree, Shlomo yimloch acharai, vehu yishev al kisi tachtai. Solomon shall succeed me, and Solomon will sit on the throne after me. And so we have here two models of succession portrayed in the Torah and the haftarah portion of the week. In Abraham's case, he has a long-term plan. He took the challenge of succession seriously and understood that ensuring the longevity of his life's work required a successful succession. Abraham took his time. The Torah tells us that he lived for another 35 years. He built the succession plan carefully. He knew that it was as important as all of the key decisions of his life while building the enterprise. When Abraham eventually died, the Torah described his death with this gorgeous verse. Vayamot beseva tova zaken v'saveh. Abraham died at a good, ripe age, old and contented. David, on the other hand, neglected his succession plan. It was done in a hurry, at the last moments of his life, on his deathbed. We read in the haftarah that David died in turmoil. He couldn't stay warm no matter how many blankets they threw upon him. His inability to stay warm on his deathbed is symbolic of his inner restlessness, his lack of tranquility. This last-minute succession plan caused dissension and rebellion. The United Kingdom under the House of David didn't last. David's ambition that the united monarchy would last in perpetuity failed. If your descendants are scrupulous in their conduct, David told Solomon, your line on the throne of Israel shall never end. That was David's ambition. But dissatisfaction continued even under Solomon. And after his reign, the kingdom divided. David's lifelong ambition to permanently unite the 12 tribes of Israel lasted only another 40 years. Upon Solomon's death, the unresolved tensions exacerbated by the disorganized, hasty, and haphazard succession plan led to the dissolution of David's most fervent ambition. I think that the Torah and the haftarah of the week remind us that no matter what we have done in our lives, no matter how successful we are, it will all dissolve after us unless we have a good succession plan. That this last phase of the building project of our lives is critical to its ongoing influence and longevity. Whatever is our life's project, a spectacular new idea, an educational or artistic institution, our values and principles, our desire that the next generation of Jews be committed to a Jewish future, for these to live on, we need to find successors. And not only successors, they need to be worthy successors, up to the task. The wrong successors will either eventually destroy our life's work or render it insignificant, inconsequential, immaterial, or irrelevant. And thus, the lesson from these two models of succession in the Torah and the haftarah of the week is that we have to take our time planning what will come after us. We must prepare good succession plans. The Talmud describes an exchange between the Roman Emperor Antoninus and the great sage Judah the Prince. Antoninus asked Judah, "For what reason does the sun rise in the east and set in the west? Why doesn't the sun occasionally deviate and set elsewhere?" Why doesn't the sun rise, say, to the midpoint of the sky and then set in the east where it came from? Judah responded, the sun sets in the west because of workers and travelers. If the light of the day didn't gradually wane, if sunset happened all at once, the laborers would not know that it's time to return home, and the travelers would not know to find an inn, an overnight shelter. In other words, Rabbi Judah emphasized that the knowledge of the gradualness of the dying of the day is important to those of us who are laboring in human endeavors. It's human nature to avoid thinking of sunset. When we are vigorous and filled with creative energies, we focus on the building project. We're out in the sunlight and not thinking about where we'll spend the night. Instant sunset with little preparation for succession is portrayed in the dying of the light of King David. The gradual dying of the day, the sun gradually setting in the west, with enough time to prepare for the next phase after me, is portrayed in the long sunset of Abraham's life. And it was only Abraham, not David, whose death is described as serene. All the Bible says about David's death is that he slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David. It's a stark, detailless verse for somebody so great. Abraham, on the other hand, died filled and contented. He could rest in peace. His legacy, his life's work, all that was important to him was secured.